Several years ago, when I hit, I think it was my early 40s, I started having back problems. Just out of nowhere. It's like, man, my back hurts. And it just hurt a lot. So I finally went to a physical therapist.
Yeah.
And she started teaching me that my back problem had nothing to do with my back. You know, I started thinking, because a lot of people, oh, you're getting old, ha, 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 and all this. But she said it all has to do with you have a weak core.
Interesting.
And I was like, weak core? What are you talking about? It was my abs. And it wasn't just, you know, doing sit-ups. It was using your core when you do everything. Like she taught me how you open a door is all core strength, more so than just pulling and yanking. How you move, moving things around, doing things. And she started strengthening my core, giving me exercises to strengthen my core. Also did some work with me, but also taught me a lot of movement to use my core and just think about using my stomach instead of my back. Back problems went away. Haven't had them since. And it really goes back to core strength. And I'm like an evangelist for it. I tell people all the time, they probably get sick of me talking about it. Because to me, if anyone says they have back problems, I'm like, you're working on your core. Now, some people, you know, if you have, you know, a very large stomach that's like an extra 100 pounds, that could be the problem.
Yeah.
But, and I have been that guy. But the core strength thing was amazing to me because it showed me that I was living life without the knowledge of that and what a difference it made.
Yeah. Yeah. Core strength's important.
Yeah.
Speaking of which, core strength is important not just for our physical bodies,
That's right.
but for the soul and our life itself. We'll be talking about that today on the show.
This is the Thriving Man Podcast with David and Reese Maxwell. These weekly shows are designed to help you remove the confusion from your life and make real progress with your growth. No matter where you are or where you're going, we're here to help you live a life you can be proud of. So welcome to the Thriving Man Podcast.
Welcome to the Thriving Man Podcast, where we help you go beyond survival mode and build a thriving life. I'm Reese.
And I'm David.
And today we're talking about core strength.
Core strength.
Core strength's important. It's important not just for the body, but for the soul.
For the soul.
So here's the question. Why do so few people focus on core strength? This is relevant in both. I mean, like, look at the gym.
Yeah.
You know, you go to the gym and you got the guy who's got the biggest arms. They're the size of my torso.
Yeah.
And the biggest pecs in the world. He can probably bench 350 pounds. And little skinny chicken legs.
Yeah.
And his abs are weak.
Yeah.
Why do you think that happens?
Well, core strength is not, although today it's a little different. People want to have six-pack abs to show off.
But that has nothing to do with training them usually.
It doesn't. It usually has to do with nutrition. But it's one of those things, it's not something that's obvious. Like if you have big pecs, big biceps, that's obvious. People see that. But core strength is important because literally every part of you
Yeah.
in some way really connects with your core.
Yeah.
And if you have weak core muscles, there's a lot of things you can't do. As you get older, your balance suffers. There's all kinds of things you can't do. And so it's one of those things, if you want functional mobility for all your life, you need to have good core. Like a lot of people, when they get older and they have falls and they have things like that, a lot of it comes to their core strength, their strength, things like hip mobility, things like that you don't really think a lot about.
Yeah.
And for men, we are a lot of times weak in our core emotionally, spiritually. And there's some things we can do that maybe aren't noticed by everybody, but they're things we can do to shore up that strength in our life. And that's what we really want to hit today, is not so much your physical core strength. We might do that in another show sometime. But what we want to talk about is your core as a person, what you're all about, and why. Because a lot of guys just don't know.
Yeah.
They just don't know.
Yeah. Our society does not train us to be strong internally in
That's
a
good.
emotional way. We usually focus on the outer stuff.
Yeah.
And because of that, we've got a lot of weak men out there. And when I say weak, I don't mean like, oh, you can't do 55 push-ups in a row, you're weak. I mean like inwardly, they're kind of wandering. They're
Yeah.
they're in that survival mode that we talk about so often. They're just kind of, okay, this looks like I might need to do that, and this guy says I should do this, and you're just making it.
Yeah.
There's not a sense of clarity, a sense of this is who I am and where I'm going, and because of that, there's not strength there. I can't tell you who I am, so you can tell me who I am.
Yeah.
And I'll listen to you.
Well, and we see that, I think, in a lot of the passiveness in men today, how a lot of guys will fall for anything or they go to the extremes like we've talked about the last couple months. Like there was a video recently of, I think it was on a train or something, a woman was basically getting almost beaten, but a lot of guys were just looking down, just ignoring it. No one was stepping up to defend her. And I think in our society, we're seeing that among men today. We're seeing a lot of women step up. And strong women are great. As guys, that's really our role, to be the protector, to be the provider, to do those things. But we have a lot of guys who are backing off because I think they don't know who they are. They don't know
Right.
what they believe. They're not willing to take a stand for something. And so that has made them weak. Where they may be physically strong, they might be able to handle a gun or do whatever, but internally they're very weak, and I don't think they realize how much it hurts them and how their influence is in society and what difference they make in people's lives.
Yeah. You don't know how to stand up if you don't know what you stand for.
Yeah, yeah,
If you don't have clarity on what you stand for, how can you stand for anything?
yeah, they won't. And a lot of guys, we see that in like the player guy. He'll become whoever he needs to be to have sex with a girl. Whatever she's into, he'll be into. You know, and what that means is he doesn't have any real value in his life. He doesn't hold on to anything. He's just kind of doing whatever he has to do. He's being a chameleon. You know, let me put this color on. Let me do this. And a lot of men are like that because the only thing they focus on is themselves. What do I want?
Yeah, that's the other end of the extreme. One of the extreme is like, I'm just going to let everybody else define me.
Yeah.
And the other end of the extreme is, this feels good, so I'm going to make my entire life about feeling good
Yeah.
and doing this one thing.
Yep.
And that's what animals do. You know, like
Yeah.
that's a pretty low existence.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
a lot of times it's easy to fall to that because we don't have people to train us. We don't have people to show us the way.
Yeah.
Oftentimes there's a lot of fatherlessness and there's a lot of bad influences out
Yeah.
there.
Yeah.
And so because of that, we get to this point where we have built such a fragile life that the smallest thing can wreck our world.
Yeah.
Like if your whole life is about being a player and then you get let's say a scar on your face that makes you not look good anymore.
Yeah.
Boom, there it goes. There's your whole meaning for life
Yeah.
up in smoke. And so we put ourselves in a place where everyone's kind of like meh, or
Yeah.
they're chasing after things that don't really matter. And so that's what we define as weak men. We let ourselves get distracted. We let
Yeah.
ourselves seek that escape.
Well, and you see that a lot in men today. Their strength is what they do online, what they do virtually. It's kind of this world they've created for themselves, but it's a fake world. And that's what we have to be careful of is we may be masters of a fake world, but that doesn't mean anything in the real world. And it goes back to, what do you really believe? What do you really stand for? If you don't know, then when hard times come, it's going to take everything away from you.
Yeah.
You won't be able to have something to hold on to.
Yeah. Something that's very so we just stated the problem. Something that's stupid that our culture says is like, well, just try harder.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
you're just kind of wandering through life. We'll just work harder.
Yeah.
You know, you're not really happy with what direction you're going. We'll just move there faster, you
Yeah.
know? And we just think that effort, if added to anything,
Yeah.
equals greatness. And it's not, because if you're going the wrong direction and you're trying really hard, doesn't make a difference.
Yeah.
Or if you're stuck in a bad pattern and you just try harder, it's not going to change the pattern you're stuck in.
Yeah.
What we have to do is have something to orient and get us to spin out of that circle that we're stuck in.
Yeah, and that's what we're talking about on the show today. When we talk about core strength, we're talking about your core strength as a man,
Which is
which is your values.
your values.
It's your values. And if you don't have values, if you don't know what you value in life, then you're going to be a weak man. You may be strong physically. You may have a lot of money. You may have all this stuff. But if you don't know what you value, then what's going to happen is no matter how hard you try, you still won't be satisfied. No matter how much you succeed, it'll still be empty because you don't know who you are, because your core strength is weak. And that's why sometimes we see guys who will get everything and they throw it all away. Like a guy who's successful, great, family and all this, and he runs off with a 22-year-old.
Right.
And you're like, why did he do that? It's because he didn't have core strength. And so this, little 22-year-old popped up and he thought, hey, that looks fun. And he just blows everything up to run away. Why did that happen? He didn't have core strength. He was weak, and he got overcome. What you want to do is build your values up as a man so you have core strength. So no matter what's going on in the world around you, whether everything's falling apart, everything's going good, you're still the same person.
Yeah. Yeah. A good definition for values, because let's be real here. We got to acknowledge values are kind of a buzzword in like the business world.
Yeah, they are.
It's like, well, as a business, you got to know your values and what you stand for.
Yeah.
And like you have these companies that are like, our values are integrity.
Yeah.
Our values are excellence. Our values are kindness.
Yeah.
Our values are our customers and our shareholders. And it means nothing.
Well, I know people who work for companies that have the list of values, and it's the complete opposite of how they actually function.
Yeah. And so the key here is we want you to not only find your values, but to live your life by those values. It's a both and.
Yeah.
So our definition that we have created for you guys is this. Values are the core principles that guide our everyday lives.
Yeah.
Values are the core principles that guide our everyday lives. Now, some of those are going to be universal. Well, actually, you can tell them what some of the universal principles are for us with Thriving Man.
With Thriving Man, we have the 4D process, and those are the four main values of life. And that's the spiritual, the physical, the mental, the emotional. Those are the four areas that if you grow in each one of those as a man, you will be a better man. You will be a thriving man. Now, they all four work together. And the reason we have them as 4D is we want you to implement all four of them into your life. You can be really strong in one, but if you're weak in the others, that weakness will hurt you.
Right.
And so those are kind of the universal ones that apply to every man. But what it looks like in every man, that's where it's different.
That's a good point.
Like your physical, my physical, someone else's physical is very different.
Yeah.
And that's fine because a lot of that has to do with your temperament, what you're into, what you enjoy. So the beauty of it is it can be very individualistic, but it still needs to have those 4D aspects.
Yeah.
There needs to be something spiritual in your life. There needs to be something physical, emotional, and mental. And you need to be working in those if you really want to thrive. But from there, there's a lot of things that are really more personal. They're based upon you. They're based upon how you're wired, what you're into. Like some people love to read, some people hate to read. Some people love to listen to books. Some people don't even go near books. Everybody's different. And a lot of times our values can also showcase the personal side of our life, what we're really like. Laughter, humor, fun. Like I'm a big proponent of fun in relationships. I call it the emotional glue of relationships. If a husband and wife can have fun together, then a lot of times their relationship's going to be stronger.
Yep.
If a family can have fun together, their relationship will be stronger. Like recently, I was on a cruise. I just got married. So
let's pause and say that. Dad, actually tell us the story because it happened recently, like the last couple weeks.
It did happen last couple weeks. It's a long story. After my wife passed away, I was planning never to get married again. And through different circumstances, after about 5 years, it was like, okay, I don't have to be alone. I felt like God said that to me. So started the process, but I'm in my mid-50s. I mean, where do you go to date?
For real.
So ended up online, met someone from the other part of the country. We started talking, and boom, we're married. I mean, and this is a process of about a year, a little less than a year.
Yeah. It's good that you said that because
yeah.
boom, we're married.
Yeah.
I
it
met her
wasn't-
3 weeks ago.
Yeah, it wasn't, I didn't just meet her. That'd be
Took her
kind
to
of
the
weird.
chapel
and
in
freaky.
Vegas.
No, we started talking a year ago, almost a year ago.
Yeah.
And it was after about 6 months of talking and connecting that we realized, okay, there's something serious about this. And so we just recently got married, tried to have just a simple ceremony. It turned into a little bit bigger ceremony than we planned. But Reese's wife, Emily, was a rock star and a great marriage planner. If you need one,
She's
she could
awesome.
do it. But so that was great. But we went on a cruise. And the reason I was going with that story is there was a lot of families on the cruise we went on.
Mm-hmm.
And what's funny is they get into that travel bickering.
I've seen
And
that.
you see it with couples, you see it with moms and dads. We were going back on the ship from one thing, and this teenage boy was just giving attitude to the dad. And the dad was so flustered, he picked up our bag and started walking off with it. We had to stop him. But he was just so, because his son was just, I don't care. He was just being a typical rebellious teenager. But you saw husbands and wives walking, well, I told you not to do this. Well, I didn't know, and they were doing that bickering of travel. And it made me think about how important it is as a family. I'm not saying you don't get upset with each other at times, but if you can do things that you enjoy doing together, if you can have fun together, then a lot of times it helps you through the hard times. And so I think, to me, that's a value. Now, that may not be your value.
Right.
And that's okay because that's more of a personal value. It's not one of the big four, spiritual, mental, emotional, physical, but it's a more personal value. And in your life as a man, your values don't have to copy someone else.
Yeah.
The big ones, we kind of all have the same ones.
Absolutely.
But then there's that personal one that, okay, for me, my value is this, my value is that. I enjoy getting outdoors. For a lot of people, outdoors is a value.
Mm-hmm.
They love going on hikes. They love, going up mountains and doing things outdoor. There are people who build their life around that. They have tiny homes, so their whole family can be outdoors more than indoors.
Mm-hmm.
That's a value to them. It's not my value, but it's theirs. And that's fine because you can do the same thing as a man. And when you do that, that means you're reflecting and you're figuring yourself out in a lot of ways.
Let's rewind and hit the universal values. I love what you said, that those 4D
Yeah.
are universal: spiritual, mental, emotional, physical. But the application can be different. I'll give you an example from just some of my friends. I do lifting. That I'm in the same camp. But I also like tennis.
Yeah.
Emily and I play tennis. Like we did a couple times this past week. Once the sun went down, we went and we played because it's a way to have fun
Yeah.
and to be active. So not everybody's going to be into tennis, but I like that. Pickleball is conquering the nation right now. It's the big
is.
thing.
Yeah.
One of my friends who's trying to lose weight has gotten into pickleball, and it's helping him.
Yeah.
Now, am I going to play pickleball with the same level of faithfulness that he is? No. I'll play with him every once in a while.
Yeah.
But that's his. That's his way to live out the physical value. It's the same way with, like, let's say mental growth. I love reading. I love listening to audiobooks.
Yeah.
I listen to podcasts for fun. I listen to like learning personal growth podcasts because I enjoy that more than music half the time.
Yeah.
Which is crazy to most people. But that's how I like to do it. That doesn't have to be how one of my friends likes to do it. That doesn't have to be how Emily likes to do it. So the way that this plays out will look different between the four.
Yeah.
Then there's the whole category of personalized ones.
Yeah.
For me, one of the random ones that I discovered, because we're actually going through something that we'll talk about to you guys at the end of the show.
Yeah.
But I discovered that I really like enjoying quality things. So like this is very random, but like I love a quality glass of tea.
Yeah.
I love going to a symphony and listening to quality music. I love watching a quality movie or show.
Yeah.
I love going and enjoying a quality piece of art.
Yeah.
You know, like I really like that process of enjoying something that takes a little bit of work, but it's you get to enjoy it at a depth.
Yeah.
Some people, all those things I just named, you would hate. That's okay. We have individual values.
Yeah.
Not every individual is going to look the same. Not every family is going to look the same. And that's something I think that's so important for you to really get. Like, we are coaches for you. We want you to succeed. The way success looks for you will have some similarities to us
Yeah.
and some differences.
Yeah.
You may be completely different. Maybe you are a nature guy and you're like, I don't give a rip about fun, but hunting,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
going with my family and getting out into the woods and going to try and kill something, we all love that.
Well,
Awesome.
it's when we were on the cruise, we met this other couple, and it was funny because she loved her bougie coffee. And so on the cruise ship, they have a thing where you can pay so much a day and pretty much have unlimited specialty coffees. And it's like $10 a day.
That's not
So
too bad.
If you drink a lot of those, that adds up quick. So for her, it was like, oh yeah. Where for me, I wouldn't want that. You know, they've got tea free. I can just drink the tea. And Yvonne, my wife, she likes just regular coffee. So we did just regular coffee for her. So we didn't have to do that. But for them, every morning her husband went and got them each a coffee to start the day with. That was like their routine on the cruise. And that was one of probably 3 to 4 coffees she had a day.
Wow.
Now, that was her thing. And you know what? She enjoyed the heck out of
Power
it.
to you.
Yep.
Power
yep.
to you.
And that's what you as a man, you don't want to let influencers tell you what your values are when it comes to your personal values. You want to dig and find that out for yourself because you're an individual. And when you figure that out, you actually learn how to enjoy life better because you know what you really like and you're not doing, well, everybody says I should like this, but I don't. Well, okay, you don't have to. The universal stuff is universal. But the personal values are the things you can be individualistic about, and it helps you find your life and enjoy it more.
Yeah. I love the definition that John Maxwell gives to values. He says this: those principles that guide your life are your values. After all, a person's core values are nothing more than principles that he or she has internalized.
Yep.
Like we said earlier, some of those are universal, some of those are individual.
Yeah.
But doing the work to find out what those are and then doing the work to revisit and live by that
Yeah.
can pay dividends.
Yeah. it
Because, like you said, we live in a very noisy world. Everybody loves telling you what to do. And if we don't have values, we're going to become followers.
Yeah.
We won't be the leader of our own life.
Yeah.
Or we won't follow the right people. We'll just follow whoever has the loudest voice.
can. Yeah.
And that's what our culture is right now. It's almost like you're in the middle of this huge crowd and everyone's yelling at you.
Yeah.
And just whoever's the loudest, I guess, is who I'm going to follow. You know, whoever's the most obnoxious, or
Yeah.
extreme is who's going to get the attention. This person has X number of followers. They must be right.
Yeah.
No, sometimes crowds are stupid,
Yeah.
and that's just, the question is not what do they think? It's what do I think?
Yeah, and we have to be careful. If we don't have values, we'll become followers of other people, of other noise. We'll also become followers of our own base appetites.
That's true.
It's like we talked about earlier. Hey, this feels good. I'm going to do this, and I'm going to let this be what I live for. Well, that can be a very dangerous thing because your base appetites will then get you to do things you never thought you would do or go farther than you thought you'd go. You know, the people who embezzle money from a company say, well, it all started with this. And it's usually a small little, they took $5-10 and nobody noticed. Then it just increased. And so what you want to do is look at it and say, okay, I want to build my values up so I can actually lead. And leadership starts with self. You've got to be able to lead yourself. But if you don't know your values, you don't know where to go. You don't know what to do. And so we want you to begin that process of building your core strength of values, because that's going to make you a better man, a stronger man, and a man with direction and power and passion.
Yeah. And over the next few weeks, we'll be talking about a bunch of the benefits of values and what they do for you, what they offer for you. We are going to try and convince you to take the next step towards establishing your values.
Yeah.
Because the first step is between ignorance and knowledge. And that's what we're wanting you to do. Go from saying, oh, I value valuable stuff to really knowing and being able to say that and to be able to think of that.
Yeah.
Because let's be real, who cares how good your goal is if it's going in the wrong direction?
Yeah.
You can have a great goal, but if it's taking you in a direction for something you don't really care about,
Yeah.
or something that's like a cool thing in the moment, but not really something core to who you are, who cares? And so we want you to have something to orient you, to give you direction. And like Dad said, that core strength. So you may, I mean, if you're ready to go right now and you're saying, hey, I see it, let's go. How do I make my values? What we have done is we have actually created a resource for you, a printed, downloadable PDF called the Values Starter Kit. It's going to be on the homepage of our website, and I'm sure we'll have a link to it on our social media. We can put that up for you
we'll
guys.
put it out.
But what you will do is you'll sign up for it, and we will email that to you. It's got a few exercises to get you thinking about what really matters, to get you thinking about both the universal stuff and the personalized stuff, and to be able to take that and work with that over time so that you can begin to mine that stuff.
Yeah.
Because it's there. It's just hidden right now.
It is. And the thing you want to do is just start working on it. You may change it. You may figure out, okay, I thought this was my value, but it's not. That's
true.
fine. Because the point is you're on a journey to really discover your values. And then as things change in your life, your values change. What you focus on changes. And that's normal and good, but you got to have a base point.
A 1.0.
Yep. And we're saying start now. Get the value starter kit, start working that process, and you'll discover how much you grow and how much that affects every area of your life.
Yep. So download that, and we will see you in the next episode.
Thanks for listening to the Thriving Man Podcast. If you want to check out more resources from David and Reese, you can go to thrivingman.com. We'll see you in the next episode.